Hey everyone, welcome back to the Leader's Edge. I'm Steve Steele with my co-host Ernie Dacumos and our special guest today, Jody Fuller. Jody, that's a great segment we had. Learned a lot about your childhood, learned a lot about your dad and the influence that he had in your life, the influence that your mother had in your life, and what stuttering brought to your life as well. So, Jody, we're going to segue a little bit into this next section, and I really want you to share with us a little bit about your journey becoming a warrior. And because I am a very patriotic person, and I love men and women who have fought in battle for us and who have gone to the ends of the world to protect us. And I want you to share a little bit about how that played a part in your life and where it has taken you today.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So I really wasn't sure what I was going to do in life. So I worked at Kroger in high school, and I never forget there was a sign above our time clock which read, "Smile and be helpful to every customer because they're the only reason that you're here." And I've always tried to carry that with me wherever I go, and that's customer service, that's service, that's just life. That's really the golden rule, right? But I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I enjoyed working there, but I knew that's not what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And I tried college for 1 quarter after high school. It did not go very well. Uh, I'll preface this: I still am, but especially back in the day, I was a huge wrestling fan. Huge wrestling fan. So my first quarter in college, I took 3 classes. I withdrew from the first two and failed the other one. But the cool thing is that when I got back my grades, I made a WWF.
Wait.
Yes, that is a true story. I wish I had those grades still. So I knew at that point I wasn't quite ready for college. I'm like, oh yeah, what you gonna do, brother? Whoa, I'm gonna join the army. That's what I'm gonna do. So I'm driving my stepdad's 1979 F-100 pickup truck to work one day, and I pulled into the Army recruiting station. And I'm going to do this part real fast. So I was enlisted early on. So I was a medic. I spent 2 years in Germany and 2 years in Oklahoma. So the 2 years in Germany were awesome, fantastic. I worked at Landstuhl, the big hospital. Anytime you'd see where soldiers are evacuated to Germany, that's where they go. They would fly into Ramstein, then they would come over to Landstuhl. And my time there was January 93 to January 95. So Black Hawk Down, I got to work on all those guys when they came through, all the Rangers when they came through. Yeah.
Wow.
And so it was like real world stuff. Then I wound up at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and all we did was train. But I enjoyed my time there. I worked with some great people, great guys, and my sergeants always took care of me. And I was a young soldier. I was a specialist, was just as an E4 when when I got to Oklahoma. And my sergeants looked after me. They had my back. And I always tell everybody how much I respect the sergeant, because I wound up finishing up. I did officer candidate school at Fort Benning, Georgia, and became I finished up as a major. And but I always had the greatest respect in the world for the sergeant, because they're the backbone of the military. They're the ones that look after everybody. They take care of everybody. So I've got the greatest respect in the world. But having said that, when I was a young soldier, I used to laugh at all the sergeants who could not spell the word sergeant, because you said spelled Sargent, Seargea. I mean, how in the world can you not spell your own rank? Until I became a lieutenant.
Spell lieutenant.
As LT.
LT.
LT. That's why I go
right,
LT.
brother. That's
So
it,
if you
brother.
laugh at somebody, you better be prepared for it to come back to you, because it will come back to you
It sure
eventually.
will.
Yes, but I enjoyed my time there, and I had some great folks that I worked with. Then I came back to the drugstore, worked there for 5 years while I was in college. By this time, the drugstore had combined to the big Kroger, so I was stocking shelves a lot at night and trying to go to school as much as I could during the daytime hours. So it took me 5 hours to get 5 years to get through, and graduated August 3rd, 2001 from Auburn University at Montgomery, and didn't know what I want to do. I did not know what I want to do. I had some opportunities, but just nothing really hit here, and it was just making money for somebody else. Or nothing felt rewarding. And then the awful, terrible, awful events of 9/11 happened. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to go back into the military. Bad, terrible, awful things happen in our lives. But we have to adapt and overcome. We learn, we grow. Like I hate that my father passed away, but I know my life would be totally different. And you have to adapt to whatever happened, because bad things are going to happen along the way. So I tried actually to go to officer training school in the Air Force, and they wanted me and everything, but they said it would be a year for me to get back into their classes. They were so backed up after 9/11. So I went to the Army, and they said, we'll have you gone by the end of the month. But they didn't tell me which month, because I wound up leaving September 11th, 2002. So it took that long to get back in. And I had a lot of people tell me, literally, to my face, they said, well, you can't be an officer because you stutter. And if you do, you'll never lead troops. You'll be a staff officer. And then
really?
Yeah. Literally, actually, one of the recruiters, not my specific recruiter, but one of the other recruiters in the office, he actually said that to my face. I'm like, man, I wish I could find that guy now. But he this guy literally said that. And then I had somebody at OCS, one of the other a captain from another company said that same thing. But you know what? People are always going to tell you what you can't do. You don't. You don't have to prove anything to them. You just go about your way. You mind your business. Do your thing, and everything's going to work out. You stick to what you know. You live your life, and don't worry about what other people say. But I did, as I said, OCS at Fort Benning. Then I wound up, I was a transportation officer, and I wound up at Fort Lewis, Washington, 3rd Brigade, 2nd Infantry Division. I was in the 296 Brigade Support Battalion, and I was blessed and honored to be the platoon leader of the 3rd largest platoon in the entire United States Army. And
you're a platoon leader. How many men were you over?
Men and women. It was 104.
Oh my goodness!
Wow.
And you were stuttering.
Yes.
And they said you couldn't do it.
They said I couldn't do it.
And it's the Jody, 3rd largest platoon in the United States, correct?
Yes. And listen, I'm gonna get on that, but stuttering rubs off on people. So I just caught you. I got you. It does. It's contagious. It's contagious. It will rub off on you.
You did catch me.
But yeah, I had this great platoon of men and women from every walk of life. Wonderful, amazing men and women. And I'm still, thanks to social media, I'm still in contact with dozens of them. And we led convoys. We led convoys all over the place, and we had good things and bad things happen along the way. And but we led convoys, and at that time, only the convoy commander would have the fancy navigational gear in his or her vehicle, and the sergeant in charge of the convoy would be in the lead vehicle with the strip map drawn out, so he or she would know about where to go, but they would have to contact the convoy commander on the radio to see where to turn. And I remember we're the first people going from where we were up in Mosul down to this place called Q West, and we're going down the main highway there. and my sergeant knows we're getting close. So he calls me up on the radio. He says, "Sir, you got to let me know where to turn." I said, "Roger that, Sergeant." And I start punching until my GPS get come out. I said, all right, Sergeant. Here's what you need to do. You need to take a left. He said, "Where at?" I said, "About a half a click back," because we blew right past it. But the thing is, yeah, I stutter. But you know what? You have people who have perfectly fluent voices, and they're not necessarily good leaders. We always, since we were kids, we heard, actions speak louder than words.
Yes.
And I did everything I could. I wasn't the best at a lot of things, but what I did is that I cared about my folks as good or better than anybody else. And when you care about people, when you care and they know that you care, there is nothing they won't do for you.
Yes.
And we've all heard the John Maxwell famous quote. It's my favorite one. People don't care how much you know till they know how much you care.
Yes.
And I felt that way before I knew of that quote. And they cared about me. And I've served with other leaders, some outstanding leaders, and then I've served with others that only care about themselves. And there's a difference. There's a huge difference. You can look the best, you can talk the best, but if people know that you don't actually care about them or their interests or their well-being, then you're not a leader. You're just a person in that position. And I never wanted to.
Absolutely. And it kind of goes along with with Simon Sinek. And I love Simon Sinek. I love his teaching and a lot of things that he talks about. And he does say that. He said leadership is not about being in charge. Leadership is about taking care of people in your charge. Yeah, and I absolutely love that. And I was going to ask you in your leadership journey with your troops, what was it that they say about you that made you such a great leader?
I think that I cared and that I was approachable and that I was present. Me and my company commanders and my first sergeant, we, even when we weren't leading that convoy, because we had soldiers spread out at 13 different locations across northern Iraq. So even when we weren't leading that convoy, we would hop on somebody else's convoy to go and visit the troops to make sure that they're okay and to say, what can we do to help you?
Yeah.
So I guess in hindsight, they appreciated that we were willing to, hop on that highway, and there's a lot of bad things that could happen between.
Absolutely.
In between. I'm curious, Jody. So I love what you have done and what you were doing with your team, and what made you stand out as a leader is actually caring for your team. But I'm sure somebody in the audience is saying, well, there must have been adjustments that you had to do with the stuttering and having to lead a platoon, right? Was there any adjustments that you have to do within yourself too?
Well, when I'm very, I don't want to say serious, but when I don't get mad or upset, but when I'm on the verge of that, I don't stutter at all.
Really?
Stuttering is such a unique thing, and it's like fingerprints and snowflakes too. It's unique to that individual, and we're all different. But so they would know, hey, LT's not stuttering today. You need to. You give some
I love that.
And also,
I do too.
When I'm speaking loudly, I don't stutter either. Very seldom. So if I'm in front of the platoon talking, or like now when I'm speaking in front of a crowd and they're like, our microphone is not working or it's all sketchy. I'm like, trust me, I'm fine. I don't need it. So when I do speak now, I'm like, listen, I'll do some stuttering jokes and stories, and I'll have to do the fake stutter. But I tell them, listen, I legit stutter. It is real, but for some of the storytelling purposes, I will fake the stutter for the story itself. So I don't want anybody to say he doesn't really stutter. I said, trust me, I stuttered my entire life. My mama always says, Jody, we'll never forget your first word. She said, we don't know what you said, but it had about 12 syllables. We thought you were going to be a genius or something. But yeah, but again, even if I wasn't upset and I was stuttering, trying to get points across or com, communicate again, that your actions speak louder than your words. So they knew what I was about, and I had some great leaders who showed me the way, and I'm so grateful for them. And yeah. I can stutter all day long and anybody can have something wrong with them, but you have to get out there and do it. And if they see you doing it, then they're going to listen to you and they're going to follow you.
That's right.
I love that. This is great content, Jody. We will have to take a quick break, but Jody shared three major quotes that resonates with me the most, and I would like to put a highlight on this. It's not your responsibility to prove anything to anybody. um, People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, and actions speak louder than words. These are the things that he had applied in his life, and which made him somebody who stands out and be able to lead a platoon, let alone be a father. When we return, Jody will be sharing few tools that he has learned over his journey. And with that, we will be right back to the Leader's Edge.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Leader's Edge. I'm Steve Steele with my co-host Ernie Dacumos and our special guest today, Jody Fuller. Wow, Jody, that last segment was amazing, and we had a lot of talk about your military experience and what you did in the military and how stuttering played a part in that. How people told you couldn't do it, and you did it anyway. Jody, you started out with you're going to give us some tools to go by this segment, and you started out with one about adapt and overcome. In the last segment, you kind of mentioned a little bit about that. Can you go into some of the tools that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, sure. Just whenever I speak to people, the main thing that I like to get across is the importance of listening to people. It's so simple, right? Oh, well, of course, but no, everybody doesn't listen. People, one of the biggest pet peeves for people who stutter is when somebody wants to finish our sentences for us. But I truly believe anybody, whether you speak fluent or not, you don't want somebody to finish up what you're trying to say. You got something to say, let them get it out. Give them the time and the respect to get it out. Because number one, it's just a polite and courteous thing to do. It's just proper manners to do that. Number two, you will learn something. You will always learn something just by listening to people. And number three, there's a good chance they're going to say something funny, and humor can get us through so much in this crazy, crazy world that we live in. I was a couple of years ago, I was riding down the road with a good friend of mine, and he's driving the car, and I'm over in the passenger seat, and we come up behind a traffic light. We come up to a car at a traffic light, and we get there, and it's quiet, and then he said, "Hey, do you think they drove all the way up here from Ecuador?" I said, "What are you talking about, man?" I could have just ignored and not even listened to what he said. I said, "What?" He said, "See that car tag? It says that they're from Ecuador." I leaned forward and looked real hard, and then I looked at him. I said, "Dude, that says educator."
Oh no!
So obviously, he did not have that tag on his car, and
Right.
another one. Now here's a little stuttering awareness for you. Most people, not all, but most people who stutter, again, because we're all different, we can get stuck on one word or sound, but immediately jump to another word or sound. So years ago, I'm flying out to do a gig in Las Vegas, and I'm sitting next to this sweet lady, and she wasn't trying to be ugly. She just didn't know any better. But she said, "So, young man, where are you staying?" I said, "I'm staying at the She said, "MGM?" I said, "No, ma'am. No, ma'am." I said, "I'm staying at the She said, "Mirage." I said, "No, ma'am. Not there either." I said, "I'm staying at the She said, "Monte Carlo." I said, "Lady, this ain't named that tune. You ain't gonna win nothing." I said, "I'm staying at the Bellagio."
Oh my
I was
God!
really, I, I was really staying in Mandalay Bay. But hopefully she learned something.
Right.
You don't cut people off. Let them get their words out. Doesn't matter how well you speak. So it's important to listen to people, and there's so many great people throughout history that have stuttered. Moses stuttered. And I've been blessed. My 3 tours in Iraq were as a soldier, but I've also been blessed to do comedy tours overseas for troops. And I've been to Jordan, where Moses was twice. I went up to Mount Nebo. It's like Moses and Jody from Alabama, right? But Moses and Albert Einstein and Winston Churchill and all these people. And I think the greatest voice of all time, James Earl Jones, the voice of Darth Vader, who recently passed away. He had the greatest voice of all time, but he stuttered so bad throughout his childhood and adolescence that he just quit talking altogether Now, could you imagine if the voice of Darth Vader had not been able to overcome his stutter? Which to me, overcoming anything, it doesn't mean that you're cured of it. It means you learn to live with it and do the best
I
that you
love
can.
that. I
Yeah,
love,
yeah,
love,
yeah.
love that.
But Star Wars would have been a different movie all the way around.
Oh
I mean,
yeah. Oh yeah.
he'd have been like, Luke, I am your. See, now y'all know why he breathes like that.
Yeah.
And that's why he keeps his face covered up, because he probably
Right.
would not have been as
Right.
intimidating, you know. But there's so many great examples of people that have what others would see as flaws that they've been able to live with, overcome, and live with, adapt and overcome, and in many ways use what others would see as a flaw, as and use it as a strength. And again, listening, that is, whenever I speak, that is the number one thing I want to get across, because when you listen to somebody, they know that you care. They know that they know that their words matter to you. You know, I've heard John say, but I've heard this my whole life. There's a reason God gave us 2 ears and one mouth. He wants us to listen more than we talk.
That's right.
That.
That's right.
I do have one last question, Jody. And for being someone who stutters, which everyone considers a flaw, right? And we have heard you speak for the past 49 minutes, and you add comedy in your life. How can somebody who is listening right now apply, humor in their life, being bullied, if they are being bullied or they're going through something that is out of the norm, that not everyone is accepting? What would you be like? I can't talk anymore. See, this is contagious. What would your advice be?
It rubs off. So enjoy your beautiful stutter, okay? It is. It sounds simple, and it is, but I know it's a little bit more complicated, and I'll get to that in a second. But what helped me, and what I tell people all the time, is that, again, remember I told you that story in Chicken Soup for the Soul was embracing my uniqueness. I was able to accept my stutter at an early age. And whether you stutter or whatever it is, you have to accept it first. Because if you don't accept it, if you're saying poor, pitiful me, then how can you expect for somebody else to, if you don't accept it yourself? Now, with the digital age, and bullying has just gone to a whole new level on the internet with this social media and all that kind of stuff. But still, I still believe ultimately it goes back to oneself. You have to accept yourself, because in my mind, if I love myself or who I am, and I know the good Lord loves me too, and my family loves me, then it doesn't matter what anybody else says. I know it's hard, but ultimately it doesn't matter what they say. If you love yourself, nothing else should matter.
I love that. Jody, thank you so much for such a great lesson today. I'm sure listeners are wondering, what are you currently working on out of all the great things that you're doing, and how can they connect with you?
Real easy, jodyfuller.com. That's JODYFULLER, jodyfuller.com. I on all the social medias. I'm just always busy. I do corporate work. I do churches. I do fundraisers. I do stuff for the military. Anybody I'll talk to anybody. I love the opportunity to speak, to share my message. I love connecting with people. That's the best part of what I get to do, is meeting people. I was in Oklahoma on Sunday, met some amazing people. They took me fishing the next morning. That's we connected so well. I was in Birmingham on Tuesday. I'm going to Destin, Florida tonight for a opening keynote in the morning for a school board association. So I stay busy. I'm blessed to do what I do, and I just love to be with people. So anybody, hey, I'll bring it every time. So just reach out to me.
No doubt.
I love
Oh
that.
my God.
No doubt. Oh yeah, I've seen you speak. It's
It's
fascinating.
beautiful. Yeah.
And to our listeners,
Thank y'all.
and to our listeners, if you have a product, service, or rebranding that you're launching in your company, we would love to help you promote it globally. Please contact our producer, Robert Giolino, at robert.giolino, Ciolino, at voiceamerica.com for more information.
And partner, next week, a sneak peek for next Thursday, we will have our dear friend Deb Cryer, who will share her journey of having dealt with 3 cancer diagnoses. Tune in next Thursday on The Leader's Edge, titled, I'm Not a Patient, I'm a Warrior. Enjoy. Thank you so much for today. What an amazing day. I enjoyed it so much, Jody. You just had an amazing life, and you've just done so much. Thank you for being on The Leader's Edge. We greatly appreciate it.
Bless me. I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, Jody. Everyone.
Had to get one last stutter in.
I love it. I really
I do too. I do too.
Let me see if I can end this without stuttering. We wanted to say thank you to all of our listeners and friends, because without you, the Leader's Edge would not be possible. We are grateful to have you here and so excited to connect with you next time. But for now, bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.